Hello and welcome. You're watching News Now on TV360 Nigeria. I am Fidelia Aguncha. Nigeria's Code of Conduct Tribunal has adjourned the trial of the country's Chief Justice to January 22nd. Justice Walter Onagan is facing 6-count charges bordering on failure to disclose many bank accounts containing local and foreign currencies. Well, this is contrary to Nigeria's law, which requires public office holders to declare their assets before taking office. Onye Adekunle tells us more.
As expected, the Code of Conduct Tribunal was packed full for this unprecedented trial. 47 senior lawyers were at the tribunal to defend the Chief Justice, who was conspicuously absent at the trial. His lawyers challenged the jurisdiction of the tribunal to hear the matter, also pointing out that he was not personally served with the tribunal summon. But the tribunal chairman eventually ruled that the top judge should be personally served the summon and that he must appear in person to take his plea at the adjourned date.
The defendant was not served personally. And what happened to the staff of the tribunal was that they went to him. He is the Chief Justice of Nigeria, and he directed them to give the summons and the charge to his PA. This boys, I don't think even the chairman of the tribunal, when he gets to that he will refuse to obey the directions of the person, the defendant. So they did. We were expecting him to own up to say, yes, I was served. But they now come and said he was not personally served. The law is that he must be served personally in criminal or quasi-criminal matter. So if they are demanding for their right, then you cannot accuse them of stealing the trial. But you can say somebody has refused to own up the direction that he gave junior officers in his department.
It is the very first time the country's top judge would be facing accusations of alleged corruption and brought before a court. Mr. Onagan is accused of stashing various sums in hidden accounts, which the law requires every public office holder in the country to declare. He has reportedly said he simply forgot to declare the accounts. The trial has divided opinions in the country, with some questioning the timing and accusing the executive arm of government of attempts to muzzle the country's judiciary. Governors of the Chief Justice's southern region of the country have criticized the trial, asking the CJN not to honor the summon of the tribunal.
We call on His Lordship, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, to ignore the so-called court summons from the CCB and the provocative calls emanating from some quarters for his resignation. While we are not opposed to any genuine fight against corruption, and we all support it, we have taken the view, as all well-meaning members of our country have also, that these actions must always be anchored on the rule of law.
Quite a number of lawyers have argued that the trial of the Chief Justice ought to be at the instance of the country's National Judicial Council, a body charged with disciplining errant judicial officers. But incidentally, the Chief Justice is the head of that council. Besides, some other lawyers have put forward a counter-argument that the charges against the Chief Justice do not fall under the purview of the council. It's one of the issues that the tribunal will have to decide on when the matter resumes on January 22nd. Onye Adekunle, TV360, Nigeria.
Well, hours after the case was adjourned, a judge at the Federal High Court in Abuja ruled that all parties in the case should maintain status quo till January 17. That judgment is expected to hold proceedings at the Code of Conduct Tribunal. Meanwhile, the trial of lawmaker Dino Melaye has been stalled following the absence of the senator in court. Melaye is standing trial at the Federal High Court in Maitama for allegedly providing false information to the public regarding an assassination attempt against him. He was arraigned by the federal government through the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. At a continued hearing on Monday, the prosecution counsel Shuaibu Lebaron told the court that the defense counsel had served him applications requesting an adjournment since Melaye is still in police custody. The Nigerian Army says it has uncovered Boko Haram logistics supply syndicate among loggers and charcoal dealers in Borno State. The acting general officer commanding 7th Division, Brigadier General Bulama Biu, made the disclosure in an interview with newsmen in Maiduguri. Biu was reacting to the ban imposed on the supply of firewood and charcoal in Borno. He disclosed that intelligence reports indicated that some dealers in Maiduguri were hiding under the guise of firewood trade to aid insurgents. The army officer, however, explains that the ban was temporarily designed to checkmate activities of the criminal element among the dealers and not to make life difficult for firewood and charcoal users. He says the military had allowed suppliers from other states such as Oyo, Kano, Katsina, Niger and Kaduna State to supply their goods under strict supervision of the command. While in Abuja, 2 separate religious services have been held in honor of late Nigerian military officers. The services were held to begin the celebrations of the 2019 Armed Forces Day, which is scheduled to hold on Tuesday. Adeshewa Odushoga tells us more.
The 2019 Armed Forces Remembrance Day comes at a time the Nigerian military is mourning. 18 military officials, including 5 Air Force officers and 13 soldiers, have been laid to rest in the past weeks after tragedies were recorded in anti-insurgency war. At this church service in Abuja, guest speaker, Catholic Archbishop of Abuja, John Onoyekon, asked the government to ensure the fallen heroes are truly honored.
In our contemporary world, with ever-evolving means, hardware and gadgets of national defense and warfare, we need to equip our soldiers adequately and treat them all well, from the highest to the lowest ranks, with good remuneration and conditions of service so that they can perform their task well. But we must remember that the best and the most effective defense of a nation is not a strong army, but a good government.
In his remarks, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo asked Nigerians to ensure that the labors of the military men are not in vain.
We celebrate this Remembrance Day by solemnly thanking the Almighty God for giving us men and women ready to obey the call to fight and, if need be, to die for the fatherland. We are grateful that they were faithful to the cause, that they did not betray the trust of millions, that they gave up all the comforts of life and all the love and affection of family, that we may enjoy the same. This unity and territorial integrity of the nation for which they died must not be jeopardized by the reckless utterances and actions which play on the religious and ethnic fault lines of our nation.
A similar ceremony is also ongoing at the Abuja National Mosque. The Imam of the mosque, Abubakar Sadiq, in a solemn prayer asks for protections of the armed forces of Nigeria in the discharge of their duties.
May Almighty Allah continue to give our armed forces more courage, more strength, and more power to wipe all those terrorists in our country, in neighboring countries, and also to enable them to discharge all their duties in this country.
After the prayers, the Minister of Interior, Lieutenant General Abdulrahman Dambazao, also reiterates the Vice President's plea for peace and unity.
This is a special day for prayers for them, and also for prayers for peaceful coexistence in this country. And of course, in every war situation, certainly you have casualties, including death. And so it is for us to appreciate those sacrifices made by the fallen heroes. And also know that we continue to pray for peace in this country, for prosperity, for development.
The Armed Forces Remembrance Day is held every January 15 to honor all Nigerian military and paramilitary personnel who died in defense of their fatherland. It continues on Tuesday, where the President of the country, President Muhammadu Buhari, accompanied by service chiefs and other top dignitaries, will lay a wreath to honor the departed. Adeshewa Odushoga, TV360, Nigeria.
While in politics, President Muhammadu Buhari's campaign team will visit Lagos on February 11, which is 5 days to the presidential election. The campaign kicked off in Bauchi, and the train is expected to stop by the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, where it would round off on February 14. In the meantime, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has been on a door-to-door campaign in Lagos to gather support for the ruling party. Adeshewa Odushoga has that story.
The Vice President is greeted by loud cheer as his bus arrives at the Alimosho area of the southwestern state. He is accompanied by State Governor Akinwumi Ambode and the party's governorship candidate Babajide Sanwo-Olu. All three men alighted from the bus to meet a large crowd of party supporters who were clearly happy to see them. They then began a tour of the local government, visiting various households to interact with party supporters. After the tour, Osinbajo returns to the bus and is driven back to the airport to return to Abuja. However, before he returns to Abuja, the Vice President tells newsmen he is confident of victory in 2019 and asks party supporters to ensure that is the result of the polls.
We're extremely grateful, as usual, to the people of Lagos for the very warm reception always. And the door-to-door has been particularly informative. You know, one of the reasons why we do the door-to-door is because we want to ensure that we interact with the real people, with, you know, people in their homes, you know, people at their work, you know, and businesses. And we found that has been tremendously useful, not just in getting a feedback, but in also reinforcing our message, you know, which is that we're moving to the next level, and that things can only get better, and that there is really, and that we are the real choice that has to be made. Absolutely, we are very, very greatly encouraged by the support we're getting, and you saw it yourself. You were there with us. You saw the enthusiasm. You saw the way that people responded. So I think that clearly, you know, we are all set for victory. By God's grace, it will be a resounding victory for the APC.
The Vice President is expected to return to Lagos to continue his door-to-door campaign before the polls on February 16. Adeshewa Odushoga, TV360, Nigeria.
While still in Lagos State, some gubernatorial candidates have been engaging in a series of debate. 12 parties, which include the two major political parties in the state, were represented by their respective candidates, where they rolled out their manifestos and shares opposing views. Onya Adekunle has more.
With the beginning of the 2019 general election now just weeks away, candidates of all registered political parties have been stepping up efforts to gain the vote of the electorates. The candidates have also been grilled in debates organized by different bodies to explain their plans for the masses. This gathering at the Archbishop Vining Memorial Church Cathedral, Ikeja, capital of Lagos State, is one of such debates. 12 candidates from different political parties are taking part in the debate organized by the Diocese of Lagos West Anglican Communion. The candidates of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), All Progressives Congress (APC), African Democratic Congress (ADC), Action Democratic Party (ADP), and 8 other parties are present as they reel out their manifestos.
We are going to provide free internet connections throughout Lagos State. We are going to provide free internet connection throughout Lagos State.
The civil service wages are atrocious, and we're going to review them root and branch. We're going to be looking specifically, first of all, at the key services: education, medical, security, and emergency services staff.
The challenges of a mega city are that people are coming in very large numbers every day. And when they come in, you have to provide for them. You have issues of where they're going to stay. If you do not have where they're going to stay, then you are creating slums. They are going to be generating waste. You must be able to clear the waste.
Transportation has to be internodal, with rail coming up, with waterways we're going to increase the capacity, and of course the bus traffic system that is ongoing. We complement the 3 of them on traffic and transportation.
Afterwards, series of questions bordering on security, taxation and corruption are thrown at the candidates, which they provide answers to.
If contractors are funding your campaign, you are corrupt. If some senior state government are funding your campaign, you are corrupt.
Under this dispensation, within your comfort zone, you can go online, on your phone, on your computer, go to the ministry, go to the department, apply for your certificate, for your C of O, for your permit, name it. You attach necessary document and you submit it online immediately.
I happen to be a research professor before on equity union issues on diversity. Now, there are 2 types of diversity: natural diversity and artificial diversity. If the bishop right here, have a baby today and give it to the chief imam of Lagos to raise up, that child, 90% most likely is going to be a Muslim. And the chief imam of Lagos had a child and bring the child to the bishop to raise up. The chances is that he's going to be a Christian. That is an artificial diversity. Nobody is born a Christian. Nobody is born a Muslim. It's about raising up.
Electorates in Lagos State will no doubt be keenly watching the debates as the dates for the elections draw nearer. They will be selecting their next governor on March 2nd, 2019. Unyi Adekunle, TV360, Nigeria.
Well, the world's 3rd largest film industry, Nollywood, continues to take center stage with groundbreaking movies that have been viewed by millions on international streaming platforms. The latest is Up North, a story of love and self-discovery that has been dubbed Nigeria's largest movie production. For this next report, our correspondent speaks with the writer and executive producer of the movie on his motivations and expectations.
It is set in the northern state of Bauchi, Up North, a movie told by creatives who dared to push the frontiers of Nigerian entertainment. Above its theme of love is an exposure of the second side of the coin of northern Nigeria, showcasing the beauty of a region which carries a stigma from years of insurgency.
I kind of had made a decision to tell new stories about Nigeria that we don't often tell. Our movie industry is the 3rd biggest in the world, but it's concentrated in the south. There is a film industry in the north, but people in the south do not consume films from the north because they're mostly in Hausa. So I thought to tell the story about this untold story about Nigeria, about the north of Nigeria, we need to tell a crossover story that takes people from the south into the north and brings the north to the south.
Hey, red shirt.
Aditi's Up North was premiered in December 28th last year, and several movie lovers have lauded the star-studded film, such that you almost wouldn't believe it was his first try at filmmaking.
I'm very happy that Up North is getting the reviews it's getting. People are actually going to see this film. Someone told me nobody would watch a film with people speaking Hausa in southern cinemas. And I think that's a mistake.
Up North boasts of being the largest film production in Nigeria, with a cast of over 150 and 25,000 extras. It also features a cameo from the Emir and Governor of Bauchi State.
I was introduced to the Emir by the Governor, and after that, the Emir himself was very happy with the story that we wanted to tell. There's this thing where he believes that we don't tell enough. He believed that we don't tell enough stories, positive stories of the North. So he was committed himself to being part of the process, helped us get access to a lot of things that we normally would not have. The film itself, a scene was shot in the Emir's palace. So the Emir, I think the Emir is very committed to telling better stories of the North. He's very committed to showing the culture of his people.
For Nigerian movies to make headway, lots of money needs to be spent. It's hard enough for accomplished producers to secure funding, but for newbies like Aditi, investors were extra cautious of taking risk. So Anakul Films had to internally raise the $300,000 plus that was needed to execute the project.
I want to think that in future projects we'll have more institutional funding because when you make a film for the first time, it's hard to raise money for that because nobody really believes if you're going to do it. I remember one of the actors who was going to be on the projects saw the script and said, I would like to be a part of this, but I don't know if you guys can execute this at the scale that is written here. So it's the same attitude we had including when we talk to people about sponsorship money. Are you sure you can do this? So after the premiere, most of the people who were skeptical were telling us, okay, when is the next project? So I believe that raising money for the second project gets easier if you've done the first, which is why we were committed to funding the first one.
Carry those bags inside for me. That's 1K now, and one more when you finish.
The movie was strategically scheduled to coincide with the Durbar, an annual festival that marks the end of Ramadan. Such weight could only be pulled through collaboration, and Aditi says a lack of it is slowing down the growth of Nollywood.
We need to have better support systems. We need to have more states, more government bodies actually work with filmmakers on one hand, but that's not the most important thing. I think we need access to new markets internationally because our market is not as big as it should be. We also need to invest in our markets. We need to invest in more cinema screens. We need to invest in more platforms.
Up North is already in cinemas in Nigeria and Ghana, but they're not stopping there. Aditi says the movie will soon be in the UK, US, and on international video streaming platforms like Netflix. Up North is not just another love story. It's a cultural bridge between Nigeria's north and south and an indication of all that could be achieved through collaboration. It is through movies like this that Africans make bold statements about their rich history and identity. Annetta Felix, TV360, Lagos.
Well, we'll take a short break now to bring you more news stories. Don't go away.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
And wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not?
This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the Go-To app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other Paper Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
Welcome back. Well, let's now join Annetta Felix, who gives us updates on the Nigeria Stock Exchange. Annetta,
Hello, Fidelia.
what do you have for us?
Well, the Nigerian Stock Exchange is off to a positive start of the week with a 0.45% increase in the all-share index, while the market capitalization, as we can see, edges up by 50 million naira, and that's from Friday's trading session to close at 11.174 trillion naira. However, the volume of shares traded today is about 76 million lower, 73 million lower than Friday, and so is the value. We see that compared to last trading session, it has decreased by about 1 billion naira, and all this was transacted in about 2,542 deals. Now, for our top percentage gainers, we see that Dangote Cement, WAPCO, United Capital PLC, and of course Diamond Bank are increasing. Dangote Cement is a retainer on the top gainers list. It added about 3 naira to its share price from its last close at 177 naira per share to 180 naira per share today. Now, for our percentage laggards, we see that Forte Oil, Guinness, NACO, and Lancashire are actually making this list today. Forte Oil is actually reducing by actually 1 naira. And this is because it comes at the back of the announcement of one of its biggest shareholders, and that's Femi Otedala, who actually announced that it was going to divest about 75% of its shares. And we see that maybe why that's why investors are actually taking this course of action, pulling down the shares of Forte Oil to about 28% today. Now, going to the global stock market, we actually see that FTSE is reducing, FTSE is declining. London shares have lowered as markets were dragged down by data, which shows that Chinese exports and imports fell in December. And the Dow is actually reducing as industrials declined by about 100 points after more disappointing economic data out of China. As we see here, the stock market in China, the Dow decreased by 0.30%. And that's it from here, Fidelia.
Well, thank you, Annetta, for that update. The Dow and FTSE declining, and I think this can be attributed to the whole trouble in the UK with Brexit. You know, they will be having a final vote tomorrow to decide on the Brexit move, and the US are still struggling with the government shutdown, which is the longest in US history. And it is a good thing that the NSE is actually increasing for the 3rd straight day, with the fact that they recorded gains on Thursday and Friday, and they are recording gains again today.
That's true. And though they're geographically far off, I'm talking about the US, UK, and China, we're actually seeing right here with the power play on the stock market, actually just how much impact trade can be to the global stock market. I mean, China, I'm talking about trade between China, the US, and the UK, has impacted so heavily on the markets of these, of course, in London and the US, that we're seeing declines in their share prices.
Yeah, very correct. That is what actually determines movement in the stock market. Well, thank you, Annetta, for that update. We will take another short break, and when we return, we'll look at sports and foreign stories. Don't go away.
Corruption not in my country. It's about the files your secretary presented to me regarding the company's salaries. Yes, the figures don't seem to add up. I suspect there's some form of a discrepancy. Precisely, sir.
Keep
they figure that way.
That's fraudulent, sir.
That's my money.
I'm sorry, sir. I can't do that, sir.
See how padded your teeth are. Are you telling me you cannot pad up figures?
Sir, padding is against best auditing practices, and it's a form of corruption.
It's true. Accountant.
You were testing. Thank you, sir.
That's it. Macaulay.
Yes, sir.
You are fired.
Fine.
Yeah.
Fine, sir. Rather than watch corruption grow under my watch. Padding is a form of corruption and not in my country, sir.
Corruption not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
Welcome back. Well, not more than 15 people were killed on Monday after a Boeing 707 cargo plane crashed in Iran. Iran's emergency service chief Pierre Kulivand says the plane, which belongs to Iran's army, went down at about 8:30 a.m. local time near the capital, Tehran. According to reports, the plane crashed and caught fire when it ran out of runway while attempting to land at an airport in the city of Kara. An army spokesperson said 16 people were on board, while the cargo plane carried red meat from Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan to Iran to help the country's economy. And in sports, Andy Murray produced a remarkable first-round comeback on Monday at the Australian Open, but Roberto Agut bounced the three-time Grand Slam champion in what could be the final match of his career. Murray was in tears when he announced last week that he plans to retire after Wimbledon this year, but admitted he may not be able to play beyond the first major of the year because of a chronic hip injury. The hobbling former world number one showed incredible spirit to rally from 2 sets down before Agut turned the tide in a decider to win an epic battle 6-4, 6-3, 6-7, 6-7, 6-2 on Melbourne Arena. And with that, we'll draw the curtains on news now. But do remember, you can always get news on the go from our website at TV360Nigeria.com. I am Fidelia Agoncha. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.